I had years of repressed feelings and years of shame and guilt that I never dealt with. Trying to process those feelings as a young girl, it was hard, and it wasn't something that was easy by any means. Hi, my name is Makenna, and I am the administrative assistant here at Army of Love. I was raised in a Christian household and going to Christian schools my whole life and going to church my whole life. So being a Christian is nothing new to me. I've been a Christian for as long as I can remember. I've had a relationship with God for as long as I can remember. And it's truly a blessing to be able to be raised that way and raised in a way that, you know, your parents are always trying to lead you and guide you on the right path. But through my experiences of being raised in the faith and going to Christian schools, I inevitably took on some characteristics that I felt like I needed to be perfect all the time, that no one could see my sin, or I would be viewed as not a good Christian, or I didn't have a good relationship with God. And so naturally, I tended to hide a lot of my guilt and my shame and my sin, just out of fear that everyone in my Christian community would think that I was a bad person or I was a failure. And growing up, that really affected me in a lot of ways. It made me not have genuine relationships with other people. I felt alone a lot of the time. And because of those feelings of guilt and shame, I just started to repress a lot of feelings and not deal with them. Because when I felt that way, there was a lot of hurt and pain, thinking that I was a failure and thinking that I wasn't perfect. And inevitably, it affected the way that I felt love. And I just came to this idea that I wouldn't be loved unless I was perfect. And I wouldn't be loved unless I did all the right things. So I just did everything I possibly could to be viewed as the perfect Christian and the perfect daughter and the perfect friend. I was afraid of anyone finding out my sin. I was afraid of anyone thinking that I was less than perfect. And I think that's something that I really struggled with growing up. In order to avoid that view of not being perfect, I held a lot of feelings down. I didn't let myself recognize or feel any of my negative emotions, and that truly affected the way that I formed a relationship with God. So much so that I didn't even recognize that I didn't have a true relationship with God. My life and my walk with God just became this checklist, this series of, okay, I read my Bible, I prayed today, I did all the right things, I said all the right things, but at the heart of it, it wasn't a true relationship. It wasn't something that I felt deeply and truly understood what God's grace and love was. I was constantly on the go to avoid those feelings of failure and to avoid feelings of being inadequate, or feelings of guilt or shame about certain things in my life. And I pushed those down to just continue every day to put my best foot forward and for everyone else to see the perfect Makenna. And I didn't want anybody to see anything less. So I used I used a way of repressing those feelings through constantly staying busy and constantly keeping my mind busy and doing everything I could. I was involved in every single thing I possibly could be involved in at school. I was in sports, I was in leadership, I was serving at church. I did everything you could possibly do just to avoid this feeling of guilt and shame, or avoid the feelings that I wasn't a good enough Christian. And it wasn't until my senior year of high school, I was playing volleyball and I had an injury where I tore pretty much everything in my knee and I needed to get surgery. And from that, it basically made my life be on standstill. It made everything pause because I couldn't be on the go anymore. You know, I couldn't go and drive and hang out with my friends. I couldn't participate in a lot of things that I had been before because I was recovering from this injury. And through that experience of going through the surgery and rehab and having to slow my life down in order to deal with this injury, it really made me face and deal with all the thoughts and feelings and the things that I was hiding because I had nothing else to do. I couldn't keep myself busy like I could before. And this is where God truly did such a transformational work in my relationship with Him and my understanding of Him in the gospel and just the sacrifice that Jesus had made for us. Because before, when I wasn't slowing down, I couldn't really deal with the things that I was feeling, and I couldn't deal with the shame and guilt that I felt, and to really even give it to the Lord because I wasn't even accepting it myself. But through this injury and just the rest and the time that I needed to take to heal from it, God revealed so many things to me. And I feel like the first time in a long time, I was genuinely dealing with things that I need to deal with. Physical hurt for one from the injury, but also just the emotional pain that I'd gone through my life of not dealing with things that had hurt me and things that I was struggling with. And ultimately, God used that time for just incredible transformation in my life. I had years of repressed feelings and years of shame and guilt that I never dealt with, and I never fully gave to the Lord. And so that season in my life was a huge struggle for me in learning how to heal and learning how to give everything I could to God and giving all those feelings of shame and guilt and truly allowing the Lord to give me grace and forgiveness. And I think for me, accepting forgiveness was the hardest part through all of it because I didn't believe that I deserved to be forgiven. I didn't think that a God who can see everything would ever look at me and say, I love you for who you are, and I want to help you heal, and I want to help you get better, regardless of what your life was like or what you struggled with. And when I finally truly grasped that idea and understood what God's love truly means and His grace really means and His forgiveness, it just completely changed my life in the way that I viewed everything and everyone. Previously to just truly having a relationship with God, I was a bitter, angry, aggressive individual who just wasn't very kind. And I had a lot of different things that I never dealt with that really just caused me to not have good relationships with other people. And so after I truly felt God's love, it just completely opened up my heart and just changed the way that I saw everything. And I'm reminded of that verse that says, God will turn your heart of stone to flesh. And I felt like that was something that truly happened for me and happened in my life. And my relationships got better. My relationships with my family got so much better. And it just, my entire view and my view of the world changed. I know that I'm not alone in this, and feeling guilt and shame. It's something that every Christian deals with, and some more than others. If you have ever felt like your guilt and your shame has kept you in a place of brokenness and unforgiveness and has kept you from healing, I'm just here to tell you that through my experience and truly giving my guilt and shame to God, He can do incredible things in your life. And He can absolutely transform the way that you think about yourself and about others and the relationship you have with Him. Guilt and shame is something that truly keeps us from understanding God's love. And it's something that the enemy uses to keep us in a place of brokenness. But I'm here to tell you that God doesn't want you to stay broken. God wants to have a genuine and loving and fulfilling relationship with you, that you know that you're forgiven and loved, and that guilt and shame has no place in your life. If you're like me and guilt and shame has just controlled your life, I want you to know that the Lord is here to take that shame and guilt and to transform you. So I just encourage you today to give all of that to the Lord, surrender it to Him, and He will absolutely transform your life.